regarding some topics, that is AngularJS that is going on in market today. Let's start with AngularJS. Before AngularJS, we have to start the concept of client and server. If it is good you are aware about the JavaScript, HTML or client-server approach, then it will be better for you to jump on AngularJS. So a kind of prerequisite is you should have HTML some knowledge as well as JavaScript and client-server approach. Okay, simply if we talk about how a web page works. See, whatever machines we are using, we are creating web pages and we are sending to server, then we are working as a client. And whatever response is coming from the server and we can see the page on browser, it is known as the returning from the server. That is HTTP request and response. For example, I just say that I have created a one page and we are going to change some data on particular page and we are going to save again and page will go to server and it will respond again. So like this, each and every time we have to create some data and we have to getting response from the server. Here, if we say about that is single page application, SPA. Suppose if I request something and it is going to response and we can see the data in browser, then why again and again we should go? So instead of that, we should process the data on client side and we can say the changes by using of AJAX. I'm sure you are about AJAX, that is stands for asynchronous JavaScript and XML. So all these concepts that how the client works and how the response is coming, the concept is coming AngularJS. It is fast forward technique that is going on with each and every technology now these days. So let's start with AngularJS. It is completely an open source and it is Java-based web application development framework. As you know about the word framework in the sense like .NET framework, we are using different languages for that particular framework. So like here, if you have a knowledge about JavaScript, so it is a web-based application and we can increase the JavaScript some properties and we are coming in AngularJS. So it is a structured framework for dynamic web application. So here if I ask what is dynamic? Static and dynamic, there are two words. Static in the sense whatever we can see the data in a web page, we cannot change anything. But dynamic here we are connecting with database. What we are manipulating the data, how we are going to interact with the database. So it is known as dynamic web applications, right? So it is a little bit, I can say AngularJS is just extendable of JavaScript web application framework. Now, how to start with AngularJS? We are working as a HTML page. We are creating our pages as HTML, right? It is a kind of template language. So here, if we extend a little bit of HTML syntax to create our applications, that we can use by using of JavaScript and then we can using of AngularJS. Before AngularJS, we can see that lot of work we have to do to connect with database, to manipulate the database, to see the result. Is something for you to reduce the code, to reduce the duplicacy of data, then how it will be very easy for us to create pages. Here the solution is AngularJS. We can see that is data binding and dependency injection. What is data binding? Once again I say, data binding, that what we are going to say, let's take an example, we have created a registration page. Different text boxes are there, user ID, password, address and whatever. This address, user ID have to save in database. So how we are going to bind the data with the database by using of any model or any intermediate business layer, whatever. So this data binding we can say easily with that AngularJS. And dependency injection. Dependency injection, this lot of work we don't have to write. This is automatically will be done by AngularJS. And AngularJS, it is all happens within the browser and making it an ideal partner with any server technology. I'm not saying that you can do AngularJS only in database, .NET or any in PHP or any other technology. It is completely with any server technology we can use AngularJS. You are completely free from platform or technology. It is originally developed by 2009 by Google. Now here I can show you one picture with different properties of AngularJS. We can say the data binding, module, model, view, controller, scope, what are the services, filters, templates, dependency injections, whatever the expressions and directives. These all are the properties that we are going to discuss just next few minutes. Now we can see here model, controller and view, three aspects we can see in AngularJS. This model view controller, as it's known as in market C. This MVC, we are using this kind of architecture in PHP also, in .NET also. So what is MVC? Before MVC, we are working in that, people are saying that we are working in the 3-tier architecture or 2-tier architecture or n-tier architecture. What is that architecture? For example, whenever we are going to create a web page, we are, or end user is interacting with that screen where he is going to enter the data. So that particular layer, that particular page, that particular user interface is known as presentation layer. The second thing, how these data are going to save in database, that will be known as our model layer. Data layer we can say. And in between that, the data are connected via presentation layer. How we are going to interact with all these two entities, that is in between, that is known as our business layer. Here we are going to write our business logics code, right? So these three layers, presentation, data layer and business layer, this is 3-tier architecture. But now we are using, instead of that, MVC. If I say that M for model, model will be equal to our model database connectivity. Controller will be whatever the business logics, the functions, the methods we are going to create to connect with model, and we have to represent for view. That is presentation layer. Presentation layer equal to view. So this MVC, model view controller, MVM, model view to model. So this model view to model connectivity or model view controller connectivity is we are using in AngularJS also. Now if I say, okay, this is okay, single page application we are going to interact, but what do you mean by exactly what is the AngularJS? If I say AngularJS, it is nothing, just simply different to, it is quite little bit different to plain HTML text, but a kind of extension of HTML with have some little bit new attributes. These new attributes is JavaScript MV, model and view. It's a framework for dynamic web application. And all we know that clients, JavaScript is basically client side. So AngularJS is also a part of, we can say, further layer of JavaScript. So it is client side, so all these things are happening in browser and you get the elegancy of standalone application. How we are going to interact. We don't have to do much work, we are just on single page application, we are on just front end, we can create our web page. You can see here that I'm going to show you the single page normally client server, how you are connecting. Whenever client is sending the request from server, always that HTML format data is going to display for the end user. Once again, if we are going to say some post data, we are changing some data on the page, it will post the data and once again the request will come from the server. So it means subsequently page is going to reload. So instead of that, if I use the technique single page application, then the entire browser after the initial request, keep it in mind, initial request. First time it will go to the server, but subsequent request or interaction that will take place using the only AJAX request. This means the browser must update only the portion of that page that has changed. There is no need to send all data about the page. Because we need some updation of the page, some data need to be changed. Why should we send all data? So this is single page application approach, reduce the time taken by the application to respond the user actions. So it is resulting in a more flood experience. So this is single page application, that basically the fundamental aspects of AngularJS. Now here we can see this is single page application, view, view and view and view. We are working only on view. Whatever data manipulating, connectivity, we all are doing on single page. It means the user is watching only the single interaction page where we can use model, controller, everything we are going to bind there. Now, if we talk about a single page application, there are different questions will be in mind. How I'm going to connect, how I'm going to bind the data, how can we load the view page, how object modeling will be there, how we'll cache the data, how the routing will be, that which page we have to use which time. These all are the challenges for a single page application. So here the answer is for AngularJS is we are using view models, controllers, directives, validation, dependency injections. All we are using for single page application in a single page. First of all, the word is directives. Directive in the sense when you are going to write the code. First of all, you will say the AngularJS will say that from where we are going to start the AngularJS coding. So we have to specify that directive we are going to include. Like if you say in C language we are using header files, stdio.h. The same concept we are going to hear that where we have to say that from where we are going to connect with AngularJS this page. Whatever connection, either it is model, controller or expression, we have to how we have to use the syntax to connect with that AngularJS, that is known as ng. ng stands that for Angular, then hyphen sign, and then we are going to say different syntax like ng hash app, ng hash model, ng hash app. This is the beginning point. This is the beginning file we are going to connect wherever we have to see that from Angular will be effective from here. We have to tell. This is the kind of directory, that is initial directory we are going to connect. Then number 2, I say that ng underscore model. ng underscore model in the sense hello? ng underscore model equal to, for example, here I am taking one input box. And for an input box, we are going to bind the data from database. Then here we have to connect this input box with the database. Then here I am going to take ng hyphen model. So it will be kind of that model that is going to connect individually name. But all about this directives, controller, we have to connect. For that we have to some references for AngularJS. For that the AngularJS JavaScript files is there. That is, we can take from that script file, we can download from AngularJS website that is known as angular.js file. This AngularJS file will be work as a header file for enability all AngularJS works. Now if I talking about ng underscore repeat, this is another object that we are going to create here. For example, let's take an array, if C# or C. So repetition of words, we are a collection of data we are going to use. If we are going to use the data in array and we have to represent on page, for that we will use that ng hyphen repeat directives to iteration throughout the word. So like this, there are a number of objects in AngularJS, but all will start with prefix ng. ng repeat, ng model, ng controller, ng app. So now another concept, views, controller and scope. So view, I told you earlier that view is a representation layer for you. Controller will connect the data for your view from the database. Here is new word you can see, that scope. Scope in the sense we are going to bind the view with controller. So who will do that for view and model? That is scope. And it will be used by prefix $sign. So we can say it is a kind of glue that is going to bind a controller and view. It is a kind of model that controller will use to bind with that view. So we will use the scope. Scope will tell that which type of template we are going to bind with that front end page. Right? So this is known as module and then controller and view. So this is all about initial further expression of that AngularJS. What is AngularJS? Once again I repeat, AngularJS is a part of a further layer of JavaScript. It is a JavaScript framework. It is totally open source that is going to use with HTML some extensibility of HTML pages. It is a completely single page application. Single page application in the sense subsequent request will not go on server. It is must reload by using of Ajax. And It is a JavaScript framework that is already written in a library in JavaScript. So AngularJS is distributed as a JavaScript file and can be added to a web page with a script tag. Which type of script we have to use? It is all script is free available on AngularJS website. We can take that angular.min.js file we can add, and then we can start our work. So first of all, different directories are there. Number one, ng-app. It is ng-app is saying the starting point of AngularJS application. Then ng-model. It is another directory that will binds the value of the controls of HTMLs like input box, selector, text area to the application data. That is database. The ng-bind. It will directly to bind the application data to the HTML view, the how user will see. So like this, different type of objects, different type of, we can say directories are there. They always use prefix ng. So here, in summary, we can say that different core features of AngularJS are: number one, data binding. It is automatically synchronize the data between the model and view. The scope. There are objects that refer to the model. They act as a glue between controller and view. The scope will work. It will bind between models and controller and view. Controller is nothing. They are the JavaScript function that bind to a particular scope. Then services. AngularJS comes with several built-in services. We can say, so for example, HTTP, that is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This is a kind of XML HTTP request we can use in AngularJS. Directives. Directives are the marker of DOM elements. DOM elements, and before we are using DOM, distributed object models, such as attributes, CSS, elements. How we are going to use this? We are going to bind with ng model, ng bind. So these are the different attributes directory we can use. Dependency injection. This is dependency injection, that is AngularJS has a built-in dependency injection subsystem. It means something is going to automatically include in your site, include in your page. We don't have to do anything. This is known as just dependency injection. So this is all about AngularJS. I hope you like this lecture. Once again, it's a completely open source. Nothing to do, just download from AngularJS website and go with HTML. And this is very easy. If you are going with that, it is very easy to learn, and you will come to know that how easy to create a web page by using of database and everything. But before that, you should have little knowledge of HTML, JavaScript. If it is MVC, if it is you are aware with that, that will be very good for you, and you will really enjoy for AngularJS. So this is all about AngularJS. Thank you very much.